Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to install WordPress on your WAMP server setup. So if you have installed WAMP server and are running it and you type localhost into your web browser, you'll be taken to the WAMP server homepage. And the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create a database so that we can host our WordPress installation locally on WAMP server. And so from the WAMP server homepage, we're going to want to look for a link that says PHP My Admin. And when we click on that, we're taken to this page that manages all the databases that are running on our WAMP server setup. As you can see here, there are a number of databases that I have created previously from some other projects, but we're going to want to create a new database for our WordPress installation. And the way we can do that is by going to Databases, and we can create a new database here by giving it a name. I'm just going to call it WordPress, but really you could name it whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. And if we click the Create button, we can see that our WordPress database has been created, and if we go into it, it's empty at the moment, but when we install WordPress, WordPress is going to populate the database with the tables that it needs to run properly. So the next step is to download the WordPress package, and the way that we do that is by going to the WordPress website and finding the download WordPress button, and we can download the latest version of WordPress from here. And then once you download the package and extract the WordPress folder, you come up with a WordPress directory that has all the files and folders that you need to run WordPress. So since we're running on WAMP, we're going to want to find our WAMP directory where we installed WAMP locally, and we're going to want to find the www directory inside of WAMP. I've installed it in my C directory. Wherever you have installed WAMP, you're going to want to look for it there. So inside the www directory, we're going to want to copy the WordPress folder in there. And the first thing we're going to need to do in order to set things up so that WordPress can write to our database is to edit the WP config file. So we're going to want to find the WP config sample file. We're going to want to rename it to WP config. And now we're going to set the settings in WP config. So we're going to open up the file in our favorite editor. I'm using Notepad++. You can use whatever editor you prefer. And remember that we called our database name WordPress. DB user by default on WAMP server is root. So I'm just going to put root. And the password is just going to be empty. We're not too concerned about security since we're running WordPress locally here. We don't have to worry too much about defining a username or password or salting our auth keys and secure auth keys by using the salt randomly generated strings. If this were a production environment, you definitely want to do those steps, and you definitely want to set a proper username and password. But because we're running things locally, we don't really need to worry about that. And so our host is localhost, and we are now set, and all we have to do is save our file. And now remember that the WordPress directory in WAMP is called WordPress. So now if we go to localhost/WordPress, it will bring us to the WordPress installation page. And so we can call our site WordPress, but you could name your site whatever you want. And I'm going to say that the username is admin and the password is admin and admin. Again, if this were a production installation, you wouldn't want to do that, as those are the weakest possible username and password combinations, and probably the first combination that anybody trying to hack your site would guess. So you definitely want to make it stronger, but again, because we're just running it locally, self-contained in our computer, we don't really need to worry about that too much. And so for email, since I'm not going to be dealing with email too much, I'm just going to say admin and admin.com, and I'm going to say install WordPress. And so right now WordPress is writing everything to the database that we had set up previously. It's setting up all the tables that it needs to run properly, and sometimes it takes a minute to do, but once we have this installed, we'll be able to log into a WordPress dashboard. Remember that I set the username and password as admin and admin. You'd want to put in whatever credentials you set here, and we can log in. And here we have a WordPress installation running locally on our computer, entirely self-contained and not exposed to the internet. But in our dashboard, we can do all the same things that we'd be able to do as if this were a production WordPress site. And this is the dashboard, but if we go to localhost/WordPress now, we can see that the site has the default theme installed, and we are running WordPress locally on our machine. So that is the basic walkthrough on how to set WordPress up locally on your WAMP server setup. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you have found this useful.